How does it feel like we've all seen the TikToks, right? Of of everyone singing. First of all, that particular passage, but also just in general, like these songs are so personal, and now they're like out in the world. Like, what is that like for you?
I mean, it feels great. It feels great. I think for me, especially because like the songwriting and also like performing, right, is like my only form of communication to me that is comfortable. So like having the songs out in the world feels so good. It feels so good and like such a relief and such a reward. I think like I was afraid at first to post them online, but it wasn't because people would hear them. It was because I was afraid that people wouldn't like them, and I was afraid that people would be like judgmental or whatever, coming from like acting to then like doing music and stuff, even though like I started acting to do music. And yeah, so it was just like, it was weird, but now it feels so good and it feels very cathartic.
Does your relationship to the songs change every night? Because I imagine like sometimes there are songs that I didn't even write that are triggering.
Oh,
or
yeah.
I'm like, oh, that reminds me of like a great moment.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite songs don't really change. Like I will say though, playing live and playing shows has made me like songs that I didn't like at first. I used to not like too well.
Bummer.
I know.
That is a banger.
Okay, thank you. That's what everybody recently has been like, shut up. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like we've had that song written and done for months.
Really?
At least 6 months, at least. Yeah.
I mean, I'm so glad that it's out.
Thanks, me too.
My question for you also is like, when you are writing a song, does the concept come first, or like do you tinker in the piano, you find the melody and then the lyrics? Like, what's the process?
Lyrics start first. Usually verse lyrics start first, which is actually like not, I feel like I am like the worst songwriter for other writers to work with, because I'm like, well, I know what the first verse should be, but if I start there, then I can write the whole thing, which is like how In the Kitchen started, and how Colorado started, and how Too Well started. Maybe it's how every single song started, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, actually, that's how every song starts, is I just start writing the first verse, and then it just kind of comes. But if it doesn't come that way, I will never like the song.
This is a very theater kid question of me, because
Please.
I'm outing myself. I am a theater kid. I'm not even a former theater kid. Like, I am one. So my question to you is, like, when you decided, you're like, okay, it's finally the right moment for me to go into pop, did you have your sound in your mind's eye, or was it kind of a process to get there?
I think like yes and no. I think like I've always known what my music should sound like. I think it's really hard when you're a new artist to communicate that to people you are working with, because I can say it as many times as I want, but a lot of people, whether they be the most insanely talented people you've ever met in your life or whatever else, and they're just starting and they're still super talented, but you guys are trying to vibe, like being a young girl who's like, I know what this is, you should trust me. They don't.
Right.
They don't. They're like, no, but like, I actually know. And in a lot of cases they do. That's totally fine. I've been in a lot of situations where they're like, no, I understand this, you do not. And I'm like, here's the thing, I actually do fucking understand it. So I do feel like I'm not heard a lot in that regard, but it's changing as I keep going, because like people only like respect you when they like decide to, I guess, which is like not good advice. But yeah, so I feel like I've always known what it was, but I think it's taken a certain amount of time for people to actually listen to me.
I think that's a big thing, like being Gen Z or like a zillennial.
Yeah.
But like, you're so tapped in. You know what I mean? Like, just even the way that you interact with your fans, like we just saw it outside, like the cadence that you have, it's so natural.
Thanks.
And it's so, I think, unprecedented. Like
Thank
no
you.
other generations, or even artists in our generation, very few, have that confidence to just go out there and be like, I know what my fans want to hear from me.
Oh, sure.
And I feel like going into this next album, do you have like a better sense of that? Yeah.
I definitely do. I mean, I think like it's interesting because the songs that I over critique and like overdo and overthink are never the songs that end up being the right ones. The songs that end up being the right ones and really like, I think, speaking to people are songs like In the Kitchen, that literally just started because I was like super sad and I was in my living room and I was at my piano and I was like, okay, well this song is going to be called In the Kitchen, so I'm going to start When I Walk in the Kitchen, and then it was like done. And so I think like I'm honestly just going to like do my thing more, and I think now I have much more confidence to do that, just because I know that people genuinely want to listen, which is also like, I feel like a big, in a good way, responsibility, because now I'm like, oh shit.
Season 2, Sex Lives of College Girls.
Yeah, man.
Layden's growing.
She's growing.
She's growing. She's maturing. Well, actually, I don't want to do a spoiler, but like,
no, it's fine.
she comes out. Like,
she comes out.
We're so proud of her.
I know, we're proud of her.
Have you learned anything about yourself playing Layton?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I think in the obvious ways, like I think like queerness has become a much more comfortable thing on my body playing Layton, but I also think I'm much more hyper aware of what that brings with it. Like the more I talk about it, the more like I get like pointing at me, which I'm like, who is that? Which is welcomed. Now I feel like I can say things and people aren't like anymore. Like they expect it. Like when I make like ridiculous jokes, I don't feel like anyone's uncomfortable anymore. They're just like, oh yeah, of course you would say that.
This is me being literally crazy, but
no.
There's a no, you don't.
No,
know.
you're not.
Okay,
like stop.
I actually am a Capricorn moon, so I feel like
we go
there is
perfectly.
a little crazy in there.
We go perfectly.
Yeah,
okay,
we do.
Good.
So me being crazy.
Yeah.
There's a line in Colorado
Yeah.
that talks about going to a bar and meeting an ex-wife. Is that inspired by Layden? Season 1 era. I guess not. But like,
no.
you know, she had her moment with the suburban moms.
No one has ever brought that up to me.
I told you I'm crazy.
No, you're perfect. No, wait. That's insane. Okay, well, we do have this sort of thing, which I will say.
Tell me.
I am not a method actor, but my friends think I secretly am, because whatever Layton is going through, I somehow am going through the same thing in my life at that time. I did not have chlamydia. If I did, that would be fine. We should normalize STDs, but also like just in the sense where like Layton was like seeing a lot of different people and she was like newly out. Like I was like fresh, like out in a different way coming off like the TV show and stuff. And I was like seeing a bunch of people in a very healthy and like respectful manner. Thank you. Nobody called me a hoe in a bad way.
Layton was a player.
Yeah, no, she was a dog. But it is funny because like I don't realize it until it's over, and we were just talking about that, and so I don't know if it was something in my subconscious. Just trying to pat myself on the back. I don't know if it was something in my subconscious or if that just like so happened. But I think it's also like an experience with a lot of like young like queer women, because like not, I don't know. At least like I always liked like older girls, I guess.
And we love that.
I still do. Call me.
We need to talk about Mean Girls.
Yes.
So my question for you is like, were you always in talks, I guess? Or like, what was that like? Was it like, okay, it's Reneé?
No, I mean, my whole reasoning for going to the Jimmys was because I love theater. But it was also like I didn't want to go to college. And I knew that Eva Noblezada, who had grown up in my like same hometown and gone to the same art school, she had done the Jimmy's trajectory to working and not going to school. And I really wanted to do music. But my parents were like, no, you have to have a job. Like, you don't get paid for doing music right now. No label wanted anything to do with me. And so I wasn't making any money. They're like, well, you're not fucking moving to New York. And I was like, okay, bet, I'm going to get a job. And so I ended up, like, doing the Jimmys. And so in my mind, I was like, that's what I would do if I got a job on Broadway. But I said that to my then agents, and they're like, no, you're way too young for that. And I was like, well, fuck, I don't know any of the other shows on Broadway right now. Like, I don't know what I would do. And then I started auditioning in like December of 2018. And then I auditioned for like 3 or 4 months, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a long process.
I feel like it's interesting. You played her when you were, what, 19?
19. I just turned 19.
And now you're going to play her again at 22.
I know.
I feel like looking back at that time, do you have a different perspective on that age? Like, you were closer to that age, closer to high school in that moment, but now you're like a full-fledged adult.
I know.
Do you have a different take on Regina?
I mean, I hope. Like, I hope so. I think, like, I don't even remember anything that I was doing in that show. I don't think I thought of, just to be totally honest, I don't think I thought about the character. I don't think I thought about the fact she was in high school. I don't think I thought about how should I act this. I think I was literally just like, this is my job. I must work. I have to do this thing. And I really hope that everyone in this cast respects me, because they're older than me and they're so talented and they've been in this since the beginning. And I am very scared. And I was coming from a theater school where like the drama is high as shit and very scary. And I was like, I do not want that again. I cannot physically do that again. I cannot do that again. And so I was just so scared. And so I don't think I had a thought when I was in Mean Girls at the time.
It's the theater blackout. It happens.
Yeah,
you
man.
Just get on stage and you're like, and then it
Exactly. So I think now I'll probably think about it more. I understand things get remade. I understand movie musicals happen. I understand movies happen.
Right.
And I think like there's a huge conversation around that of like, okay, we want to create original work. I totally fucking get it. I'm with you also. I think the cool thing about this specifically is like this will be my generation's take on what this movie meant to me as a kid, which is a bit different, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen like the Broadway part of it, but I think like what Regina George was to me as a kid is probably different than like what it was to Rachel McAdams at that time. I would say like we're most trying to just really like make it feel like it does on my person at this present time.
Is there one person that you could point to that you're like, that's a career I really want to emulate? Because I feel like you're doing so many different things.
Honestly, no. And not in a way that is like, no, I don't want to be like them. In a way that like I compare myself to enough people on the daily anyway that I make a really big attempt to not think about anyone else's career and success rate or age in front of my own, because I just try to be like, this is what I want and I know what I want, right? Like I was like, I knew that when I got that job I was like, yes, I want to do Broadway. I knew that my whole life I was like, yes, I want to do music. I knew when they were like, okay, now's the time to go on tour, I was like, great, that's what I want to do. So like I have my goals, but I try for my own mental sake. Some people work differently and they love to do that and they thrive off of that. For me, it makes me really insecure. I try to just kind of like follow exactly what I think in the moment and like pray it's the right outcome. And it has been so far, so maybe it'll fuck me in the end, but now it's kind of nice.
We're not manifesting that. We're manifesting just like up and up and up.
Yeah, hell
also,
yeah.
like, cheers to doing what feels right.
Thank you.
And to an amazing show.
Cheers. Thank